Hi, I'm Gareth Green, and in this video we're going to be thinking about why we've got such limited options when it comes to resolving a Neapolitan chord or a major chord built on flat 2. So first of all, let's just be entirely sure about what we're talking about here. We're in the key of C major and we're talking about chord 2. So in C major, chord 2 is D, F and A. Now, if I build a major chord on flat 2, that means instead of D, it's built on D flat, and my major chord is D flat, F, A flat. Okay, so that's how it works. If I'm in a minor key, just to be crystal clear, chord 2 is a diminished chord. So in C minor, chord 2 is D, F, A flat. So in order to turn that into a major chord on flat 2, all I've got to do is lower that D, the second degree of the scale, to D flat, and the A flat is already there at the top. So that's the only difference between dealing with these major chords on flat 2 or Neapolitans between major and minor keys. Okay, the Neapolitan, or this chord we're talking about, the major chord on flat 2, is usually best used in first inversion. Now, there are reasons why that is the case. It's to kind of do with how it can sound a little bit ugly in root position depending on what the progression is. But we get better voice leading often as well when we're in first inversion. Now, this is basically because the Neapolitan is one of these chords we call a predominant chord. So if I take this Neapolitan or this major chord on flat 2 in root position, I get D flat in the bass. Then if I go to 5, G, so D flat, G. I mean, it can be very effective if you're wanting to create that kind of impact, but you see what's going on, you hear what's going on. The bass is giving us a tritone, isn't it? So it's a bit awkward. However, if I put it in first inversion, then it's only going to step up to go to the dominant, isn't it? So as a predominant chord, it works well to go to the dominant, particularly when it's in first inversion, then you don't get that awkwardness of the tritone. Now, there's one thing you can do to enhance another option. So instead of going straight to the dominant, one thing you can do is to use chord 1 in second inversion before you go to the dominant. So let's have a think about this. Here's the Neapolitan in C major. I'm using it in first inversion, that major chord on flat 2. We're on our way to the dominant chord. But this time I'm inserting chord 1, what we call this side of the pond 1C, 1 in second inversion, but you might well know it as chord 1/6/4. Depends which part of the world you're in, but that's what it is. Now, we're used to progressions that go 6/4/5/3. Okay, so why is that a 6/4/5/3? Well, above the G in the bass, I've got the tenor going 6/5. In this case, I've got the soprano going 4/3. Could be the other way around. That's all fine. But 6 goes to 5. 4 goes to 3, it gives me a chord 1 in second inversion followed by a chord 5. So in other words, even though we've got a chord progression that's 1 in second inversion going to 5, you could argue that the 1 in second inversion really is a kind of double appoggiatura onto the 5, because 4's going to 3, 6 going to 5. So really it's just an embellishment of a 5. If I go Neapolitan 5, and then I go Neapolitan double appoggiatura onto 5, you could say that all I've done is go from the Neapolitan to the 5. Or you could say I've gone Neapolitan, chord 1 in second inversion, and then onto 5. So that's why the 1 in second inversion works quite nicely as a sort of interruption, if you like, to that resolution to 5. It just gives you another option. And in many ways, it works rather better than just going to 5, which is why it's worth thinking about. There's something about this Neapolitan, this major chord on flat 2, when you've got the D flat that's going to go to a B, da, D, It's a strange use of that interval, isn't it? It doesn't feel entirely comfortable. It's a little bit awkward as well if the D flat goes up to D. That's not so good either. And it normally generates some parallels, some consecutives somewhere. So actually passing through this 1 in second inversion smooths out that progression. And it doesn't matter if you do it in the major key or the minor key. If I give you the same example, but in C minor, so this time I'm effectively going to make this E into E flat. It comes in C minor. Works very nicely there as well. So it's the kind of thing about voice leading, trying to avoid consecutives or parallels, trying to avoid some kind of awkward melodic movement that means we're slightly limited. The voice leading of the Neapolitan always pulls you to 5. So either you go to 5 or you go via 1 in second inversion. I'm not saying that other things aren't possible. They certainly are, but you've got to be pretty inventive. I mean, you can do crazy things like have a Neapolitan in C, and then you could rename the entire chord and say, well, E sharps, G sharp, C sharp, and then go on into F sharp minor or F sharp major. So you could do that. But it's quite a radical thing to do, isn't it? Because you're having to rename all the notes enharmonically. You're going from C major to, say, F sharp major. The keys are tritone away, no sharps to 6 sharps. You know, it's a very dramatic, colourful thing to do. But if you're thinking about conventional diatonic behaviour in which you're using the Neapolitan chord as a chromatic chord in the context of a piece of music that's staying in the same key, well, this is where you are with it. And this is why you're somewhat limited. Now, don't see that as a disadvantage. I mean, if you're writing a phrase in C major, you're just using diatonic chords, that might work perfectly well. All we're saying here is if you want to use a Neapolitan, well, you can just use it as a dab of colour as a predominant chord, and it will just give you that little bit of colour in the context of something in C major. But you do have to be a little bit careful about how you resolve it. Lots of people are happy about how to form a Neapolitan, how to get this major chord on flat 2, but they're happier about how they're approaching it than they are about how they're resolving it, because they don't realise that really you're living in this world of predominant chords. So I hope that makes sense and helps to answer that question as to why we're really pretty limited with how we would normally expect to resolve this particular chord. Well, if you've enjoyed this video, let me invite you to take a tour of the Music Matters website, www.mmcourses.co.uk. And you might well want to have a look at our Maestros program. It's our international community of musicians. Lots of people telling us that they've joined it and how much they value it. There are 3 levels, nothing to do with abilities, so don't think, oh, this is going to be far too difficult for me. Anybody's welcome of any level of ability whatsoever. But they are 3 levels of engagement. So level 1 is come and support us at Music Matters, and we'll be so appreciative of that to help us keep going, making these YouTube videos every week. And also means you get early access to the videos that we're making. So that might appeal to you. You get other fun things like emojis and so on as well. If you want to go a step further to level 2, you have the benefits of level 1 as well as taking on level 2. Lots of extra perks with level 2, including access to a monthly live stream. You can come and join us live. If it doesn't suit you to come at that point, it's all recorded. You have access to all the previous live streams for level 2 membership as well. So there's a lot of material there. If you want to be there live, you can take part in the live chat. You can ask questions, make comments, and we make it a little bit interactive. The topics we cover are often topics that have been requested by members of the group. So if you've always wanted to know about X, this is the place where you can ask it, and I'll try to give you a decent full answer to that. So kind of hour of solid teaching with questions and other reflections coming from members of the group. So that's level 2. If you want to join at level 3, of course you have the benefits of level 2 and level 1. Level 3 is much more individually tailored. So this is where people can submit their own compositions, their own arrangements, their own harmony exercises, their own recordings of performances, and you will get one-to-one feedback from me. We share all this material in the group. Everybody then learns from each other. Other people make comments, ask questions. It's very positive, it's very supportive, and it's amazing how the people who are members of that level 3 group have really progressed. I can see exactly how that progression has worked over the months that people have been in the group. Hopefully because of the feedback, but also just learning from other people and people saying, oh, that's interesting that this person did that. I'm going to try doing that. We have things like composition, stimulus material, all sorts of excitements in that group. And there's a real sense of friendship. You get to know other people from other parts of the world as well. Anyway, it's all there. Maestros, www.mmcourses.co.uk.